Dear friends, earlier I spoke of extraordinary individuals. Some are found within Jewish communities, and some become our champions because they understand very well that what starts with the Jews doesn't end with the Jews. They defend Jews, they respect our faith and our contribution over thousands of years toward shaping Europe in morals, ethics, science, literature, the arts and medicine. They defend us because we are a reflection of the European values of freedom of speech and religion that they hold dear. Ladies and gentlemen, we first met Mrs. Roberta Metsola when she was a vice president of the European Parliament. It was during the middle of COVID. We were amazed that this lady from Malta, whose Jewish community is tiny compared to France or the UK, put so much of her efforts to stand beside us. We were delighted when Mrs. Metsola was elected to be the president of the European Parliament. Often, when someone becomes a very important person, a president or prime minister, they are always occupied with a busy schedule. By being here today, it is a confirmation of her deep commitment to Jews in Europe. Time and time again, she has spoken up for us. Time and time again, she has called out anti-Semitism as a threat to Europe. As she told the Knesset this year, to be anti-Semitic is to be anti-European. As anti-Zionism becomes bigger across Europe, she also said, let me be clear, Europe will always back Israel's right to exist. Mrs. Metsola, you are a true friend. You have lifted us up. You have made our fight your fight. And just as you keep us in your thoughts and actions as the President of the European Parliament, so too we keep you in ours. But we want to honor you and say thank you on behalf of all the hundreds of Jewish communities that we represent across Europe. This is why it is our great pleasure and honor to present you with the European Jewish Association King David Award for 2022, in recognition of all your work, past, present, and future, for Jews in Europe. Madam President, please join us on stage to receive your award. I would like also to invite on stage Rabbi Margolin, Mrs. Regina Sokowolski-Sluzny, Mr. Alexander Mashkevich, His Excellency Mr. Chaim Regev, the Ambassador of Israel to the EU and NATO.
This is the King David Award that Europe bring light. It's an award to Ms. Roberta Metsola, President of the European Parliament, with recognition and gratitude for your work in lifting up and protecting Jewish communities across the continent.
Thank you so much to the European Jewish Association for this wonderful organization, Rabbi Menahem Margolin, members of the association, ambassadors, commissioner, distinguished guests, Prime Minister. Today was my first time at Auschwitz-Birkenau. I must say I struggled to comprehend how a quiet part of the world, surrounded by beautiful birch trees, provided the setting for the worst crime that man has ever seen. And Rabbi, you were right today Everyone in the world should come here. Everyone in the world should know the depths to which man has sunk to and the horror that stems from indifference. It was hard not to imagine the shadows of the lives that we walked in today. The mothers separated from their babies, the parents powerless to protect their children, the screams, the terror, the fear reverberated in the silence of the leaves falling to ground. But even among that horror, I found hope. I saw resilience. I recognized fortitude. People who, despite the humiliation, the torture, the hate, stood up to warn the world. A warning that we must repeat again and again, especially when the voices of the last survivors fall silent. I think it was Roman Kent who said, Auschwitz did not fall from the sky. It was the result of years, generations of propaganda, dehumanization, the need to always blame the other. Every time I visit a synagogue in Brussels, in Vienna, or anywhere around Europe, I remain struck by the fact that the entrances are always barricaded with security apparatus. It drives home the message that anti-Semitism is still rife in our societies, that 84 years since Kristallnacht, genuine fears still exist, that despite decades of effort, we have not yet done enough to end the scapegoating, to end the discrimination. We have not yet done enough to make everyone, every citizen in Europe, unafraid to be themselves and worship as they like. That, as we heard today, too many children still do not feel safe saying that they are Jewish. Too many mothers still worry. Too many people still live with suitcases packed, and too many still without the freedom to just live as they choose, without fear. That is our collective failure, but our collective challenge, and one that ours is one for our generation to meet. Karen, thank you for sharing, but also for pushing us to action. Thank you for not letting us get out of this room by just patting ourselves on the back that we're doing enough. We are absolutely not. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and a privilege to be receiving the King David Award. But above all, I want to assure you that I received this award on behalf of the European Parliament with great responsibility. A few colleagues of mine are here tonight. It will serve as a continuous reminder of those heinous crimes committed against humanity in the past, and to recall the importance of speaking up in defense of our common values today. Earlier this year, I visited Israel, making my first state visit out of Europe. There, I visited Yad Vashem, where I emphasized the importance of keeping the memory of the victims of the Holocaust alive, and to teaching our children tolerance and respect. But I am deeply aware that the responsibility that we must carry must also start within our own homes. Holocaust deniers, conspiracy myths, disinformation, and violence of every kind that targets and singles out members of our communities have no place in Europe. The European Parliament understands this, and as a symbol of our duty to never forget, let me reiterate my intention of having a permanent Holocaust memorial in the European Parliament. 40 years ago today, Simone Veil held the same role that I hold. The first president of a democratically elected European Parliament was herself a Holocaust survivor, a former inmate of Auschwitz-Birkenau. For me, this fight is not only institutional, it is also deeply personal. And as I accept this award, I recall the words of Simone Weil: "The Holocaust is the heritage of us all, and I pledge to honor the legacy of the Shoah victims by never forgetting, by never being indifferent, and by always, always speaking up." Thank you.